tell you a couple of things about the stop that I've learnt over the years teaching fly casting, is that when you, sometimes they will use the definition of the stop as it needs to be an abrupt stop. Danger, because it makes people overpower. What it needs to be is a definite stop, and that's why often it's written as a pause. I think of it, the analogy of trying to get this line going forward off the rod tip to shoot line. And I use it quite a bit in my tuition, is the old paintbrush in the tin. We've got a white wall, we've got a paintbrush, red paint. Make it hit that wall. And we stop so the point paint can fly off the end of the brush. That's what it's about a stop. Now we've got to get the balance between it being an abrupt stop, we don't want that, and we don't want something that's like the other way I explained it is. And if we wanted to put the red paint around the whole wall, what would we do? We'd do this. And that can be where we tear open the loop. Alright, or we're just doing a big loop. And there's no point of projection of the line. So the other way is, you think of a crash dummy car situation, right? And they hit that wall, everything goes forward. But if it was a big sponge rubber wall, you might be able to just absorb it in the seat belt and everything's okay. That again is just not enough stop to project the line. So you've got to work on the balance of that, okay? Timing, there has to be a pause. But the timing in it, as we started with removing slack, is the timing, how long I wait on the pause, is in line with how much line I have out. Short line, short pause. Long line, long pause. What happens if I pause too long?
Goes on the ground.
Goes on the ground. We get water slap. Anybody ever slap the water? Yeah, like everyone. Me too, yeah. So we have to manage that. And then even in some trout situations, it's even worse because you've got barbed wire fences and blackberry, and right. That's when we have to go to straight line path. Murray, there's ants over there.
It's bloody marsh fly.
It's the entertainment, Gav.
That's right.
Put it on too early.
Too much. So with this timing, we'll move to that how we rectify with the next thing we're going to go to, which is the last one, straight line path. But with this timing, we need to make sure that our timing's right so our line doesn't drop down. We don't come back too early. If we come back too early, what's the definition of coming back too early in the stroke? It's creepy. It's creep. Okay? Because we're creeping forward, not waiting. You know, when we cast, we have drift. So when we cast, we have this. We have pause, pause, pause through the stroke. But we can drift. Look, stop, drift, shoot. Stop, drift further, shoot. So that little bit of further drift, that drift, gives the line more time to and more bend and gets our stroke longer. We've now moved A to B, we've put B+. We've got a longer stroke to accommodate that line or to speed up and have more punch to that line. Because you can't change the front. It's got to finish there like I said before. That's why I leave it up there and come down to fish. It's here that we change. That's why we can shoot line on the back. And it'll pull more, load the rod more, a little bit of advanced stuff, and we can shoot the line. Last one is SLP.
Straight.
SLP. SLP. Now, you'll read in that little brochure, a little write-up there, that it's defined as straight line tip path, which I'm glad about that. I've said it before, I think a better definition is STP, straight tip path. A lot of times, I've said it before, in groups, people say, Gary, I thought you were talking about the fly line. Because I see you, it's going all over the place. I can't even, no, it's a tip, the rod tip. Oh, so it's an imaginary line in there. And the line can be here, it can be here, it can be there, it can be there, it can be here, it can be here. Line, 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 but they're all straight. The most preferred tip path for efficient casting is a straight line path. Now, is that all I do? Is that what I do all the time if I can do that? No. No, you got to work around, see the right way. A lot of guys will come to me and I'll say, okay, let's have a cast. Don't cast out of this next suburb, just cast. And they'll do this. Fairly proficient casters, have a look at the size of the loop. I'll say, could you just tighten the loop? Nothing changes. No one's ever gone and shown them these 5 essentials, and particularly straight line path. So if you can cast a tight loop, you can do all the other loops, open loops. But you have to be able to nail this straight line path. So this straight line path, as it gets a longer stroke, the A to B is getting longer. Why is the AB, if the AB is getting longer, how much line have I got out?
More.
A lot more line. So to get to this from here, look, I said before, this is hardly moving. Look, little tiny bit of line out. Now I've got a lot of line out. What do I need to do to keep a straight line path? I have to do what I'm doing here. I have to have my body come into play so I can get that to stick to the end of a straight line. And as this comes through, you'll notice that this comes down, so it follows the tip, and it comes back up. Because that's got to stay on a straight line path. Okay? Once we're understanding and being able to cast this straight line path, which is so important, we'll do a couple of things on it and then we're going to start casting. Is that the most proficient loop to cast is a straight line path. Why? Why?
Because the line moves forward and straight. It carries the fly.
The line will go further and the line has more power in it. It's true. If we open up the loop too big, it's like a spinnaker sail on a sailing skiff, and the wind can catch it and we can use that to our advantage. That's why we need to have loop control. Loop control is being able to control any loop you want. When we have a tight loop, it is like what I came up with many moons ago to understand that a bit more. I've said it to you before, we all get a bit of paper, we've got a group, we're all going to throw the bit of paper. Make the paper any shape you want, we'll see who can throw the paper the furthest. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking about back at school with the little plane, the dark, triple fold wing. Someone else has said, no, I'm just going to crunch the ball up. And someone else has said, it's just a piece of paper, I'm just going to throw it. It's all paper. That's the difference between loops. This tight loop can penetrate the wind and go further when we're talking wind resistance. The ball that's crunched up, that's okay, but it's still got a lot more wind resistance, like opening the loop up a bit. The paper, the big paper, it's like almost a giant loop that the wind can just blow around and not have the power to penetrate against the wind. What are the advantages of this? Another advantage of this straight line path is when we're fishing, like I was fishing up in Dorrigo a while back, and we're down the bank a fair bit, and up behind me is blackberry and barbed wire up higher, and cows, right? So I don't want to hit all those, particularly I don't want to hook a cow. So if we have this straight line path, this is what we're doing with the line. We're just tilting the line up, and what's happening on the line? There's a tight loop going up here. So is it going to miss all that? Yeah. Right? But if we try and miss all that and not have a tight path, a tight line path, tip path, what's going to happen to our loop? It's going to catch on the things behind us. Example, look, big loop. Look behind me, look. It's in the tree, like, you know. But as soon as I'm able to have a straight line path on any angle, I can miss it like this. Look, tight loop. Look. Right up there, tight loop. Present a little more open, look gently. So I can change the loop, yes.
Sorry mate, can I just ask a question? With the straight line path, is that including so when the rod's going, the straight line path is when the rod bends as well, you want that bent rod to be in plane too?
Yes, very good, Callum. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about, being able to reach forward into that.
Yeah.
Because if we stop here and try and get a lot of line going, the tip's going to start to pull down. If we go with it, that's the very reason before when I said that when I do this at the end, I do this, watch my rod stay up here, look, it stays up there. So I don't interrupt any of that, and I can just come down into that. Oh, if I'm exaggerating that to see it, what it really looks like is it stays up there, but then I bring the rod down, and it actually looks like this, look. And then I come down. So it's in between. Once I've set it for sail up here, then I can come down and get ready for it. So can you guys see how important it is to have a straight line path to be able to do all these types of things? To be able to get, look, here we are, tight loop, that's up here. Now I might have the other way, I might have something over here, and I can do it this way, look. Tight loop, tight loop, tight loop. See? Just by moving the line, straight line path, you can do all these things. And then line speed, just to finish on that, line speed comes into that. Because once you have a lot of line going out on a straight line path, you need to be able to carry the line, then you need line speed. I've shown you guys this before, but I've had it a long time ago in a group where guys would say, a guy said, you can't fish in a kayak with a fly rod. Now we all know why he probably said that you can't. We understand that the line is global to the water, but you can, as long as you're not doing this, look, water slap, front slap, back slap. Why? Because the line path is this path.
Down.
So we can be as low as we want to the ground and just do this and have, whoops, and have it there, and no problem, because we've got the tip path here, not there. That's all the difference is. So once we learn that, we're away, and we can get past a log as we're drifting down bass fishing, and there's a log, and we can be like this, and all of a sudden the log comes up the shoulder and your mate says, there's a log right behind you, and you go like this. Whoa! Get past the log, just move it. Okay? So what we're going to do today is now, why put time into talking like this, is that if you guys watch fly casting on YouTube or anywhere else from a video format, you're spending a lot of time listening and watching. You need to have a lot of time watching and listening. If you really think about it, if you guys are looking at fly casting over your life, you're doing a lot of time listening and watching. And that's why we do enough time here. No good going out and we're not getting these essentials drummed into us. The next time I meet you all, we'll probably just do it again and go over it again. But you'll start to, like, I love it that you're answering when I ask this and you're answering it. It's great. So now we're going to get out there and cast. Now we're going to do a couple of things today. I really want you to concentrate on this straight line path. I want you to try things like having the straight line and then putting it up here and watch it, how tight's your loop through that. Is it a tight loop even though it's up there? That's what we want to see, okay? Now we're going to have a couple of aids for that. We're going to do all the other things as well, and if you need a sheet or want to refer to something, you'll have to a sheet or talk about that. But what the opportunity to do on this, what we do now on the day today, is what we did last time, one-on-one time. And so we will detect and redirect. So we will detect. Remember that last time we all looked, we looked at each other, and it was really good. A few of us were over on the toilet block at the end, weren't we? Greg and a few others. Mick was there, and we started to look at each other as a team and see. Oh, I can see what needs to help. We need to help that guy to get something more going better. And it's a really good way because you start to analyse the cast. It's the same as people who come to me and get fly tuition. They're only there for maybe 2 hours. It's no good going home doing the same things. They must understand stuff so they can go home. And they'll often get on to me and tell me and talk. They'll talk the jargon. They'll talk the terminology when we talk again, which is great. We'll put the ribbons up on the tree. We're going to have the 2 ribbons. If you didn't do it last time, have a go at that. And you put your rod between the ribbons. It stops you from being able to extend too long from your A to B. And it keeps your rod tip in that area there. And then you have a sneaky look at your fly line. And you'll probably think that's a pretty tight loop. And you'll just start to understand stuff. And sometimes people will say, oh, it's over the time I've formed some bad habits, if we want to call it that. Well, this helps you to unform them. This helps you to get a new thing forming where you're in that area and you start to understand this. The other thing we're going to do, last thing, is the toilet block over here. We had a day quite some time ago at Moonee Beach. We had a casting day
I was
there.
going to bring that up. That's where you got me. And if I can just say, what I remembered from that day, this straight line didn't mean much to me, but when I cast now, I got to keep the rod parallel to the water or to wherever you are. And that's still the straight line. You've got to have the rod tip parallel. And what I learnt this morning, you can have it parallel but flick it up in the air.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know.
Yeah, that's
But
great, Greg.
Parallel was so easy to me to understand.
Yep.
Because you had the toilet block there too.
Yeah. And that's great. I'm glad Greg said that. You guys getting this? You're getting this? You can put this straight line anywhere. It's got to be a tight loop. So we're going to use the toilet block, and that day at Moonee we used the tennis court wire.
Yeah.
We had a big tennis court wire, and I said to the guys, just run your tip along there, which we're going to do. You're going to stand away from, but facing the toilet block, like me right now, facing it. And you're going to run your tip along, like Greg's saying, on this parallel line, saying, I'm just going to have that in the background of my rod tip along the guttering. And then again, I'm going to have a sneaky look at my fly line, and then I'm going to go, yeah, look, that's tight, and I'm just going to keep doing it and try and get this thing happening where I'm getting a much better straight line path and help you to try and get that happening with your cast. We're all on a journey, true?
Yep.
All right, that's great. All right, let's cast.